Meeting called order at Strabane Township Board of Supervisors meeting for the month of May. 5 board members are present. Our township manager is present. Our township assistant manager is present. Our stenographer is present. Our engineer is present. Our chief of police is present. And I think I've hit everybody here.
Solicitor,
two, just one.
Just one.
Just one, Chris, okay. Thank you. Okay, thanks a lot.
I know I gained some weight on my vacation, Bob. Jeez.
That's it, we're calling different names now. Right, Brendan? Since we're called different names.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, very good. Okay, folks, I want you to know that before the meeting this evening, we had an executive meeting concerning litigation and personnel. But everyone, please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My fellow board members, going directly to number 3, there's going to be a couple issues we're going to tackle before we get the public comment time. The first one's on the COVID, and Brandon, you're going to ask the chief to speak to COVID regulations.
Sure. The COVID, the CDC and the state of Pennsylvania have updated the regulations with in response to the pandemic. I'm going to defer to Chief Hill to read what those currently are, and for the board to consider a motion to follow the guidelines.
Good evening. So, sorry, I don't like to read you folks, but I will to make sure I get all the wording correct. The Center for Disease Control published a document titled "The Interim Public Health Recommendations for Fully Vaccinated People," and our department is going to recognize that document. As of May 13th, 2021, the CDC advises that fully vaccinated people no longer need to wear a mask or physically distance in any setting except where required by federal, state, local, tribunal, or territorial laws, rules, and regulations, including local businesses and workplace guides. As a follow-up to that, as of May 16th, 2021, the Pennsylvania Department of Health has adopted the CDC interim public health recommendations for fully vaccinated people.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move that South Strabane Township endorse the CDC guidelines vis-a-vis public meetings and the wearing of masks.
Thank you. Do I have a second to that, please?
I'll second.
Thank you. Look at this. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, the next issue that I would ask the board to indulge me with is recognizing one of our dedicated servants here, Michael L. Manfredi. And he's sitting right there right now, and just remain seated because I want to read something on the plaque and present that to you. And I'm very pleased to do that, as well as the rest of the board members are very pleased about this. On the plaque, there's dedicated to Michael L. Manfredi, this 25th day of May 2021. Nice looking picture of him. Gonna make a wall of fame here. In appreciation of his dedicated service to the citizens of South Strabane Township as part-time police officer, May 4th, 1996, police officer, May 11th, 1999, and sergeant from January 10th, 2012 through December 31st, 2019. South Strabane Township hereby recognizes Michael L. Manfredi for his dedication and many significant contributions to the township and his continued service to the greater community, presided as magisterial district judge for District 27-3-05. Presented by the South Strabane Township Board of Supervisors, Walt Weber Chairman, J. Bracken Burns, Russell Grego, Richard Lukatich, and Mark Murphy. And I would ask Mike, please stand up and be recognized. And before you go any further, I want you to recognize, because I know your family. You're a little boy, and I know your grandma. So you want to introduce them?
This is my son Anthony, and this is my mother Christine, and it's with great pleasure that I bring them pride in this presentation today, and I will continue to be a public servant in the new role I have, and I take it very serious, and I'm proud of the service to the community that is provided, and I want to continue to do so with that pride that I've always had for the communities and my district.
Well, we're very proud of you, and you have provided exemplary service to the police force for a number of years here. And we hate to lose you, but you did do what was very good. You served as magistrate, you will still serve in Strabane Township at a higher level, I would say. And we understand very much so that you do a very good job at that also. So your record stays intact. You do exemplary service no matter where you are. We're very proud. I'm very proud to know you. I haven't known you that many years, and the board members know you, and they're very proud of you too. And they've backed you all the way as far as doing a great job and serving the
I
township.
appreciate that. And I'm trying real hard to do the right thing for the right reasons and work real hard because Mama makes no bones about, not giving me a smack and sending me to my room if I don't.
I know, she's tough.
I told him it doesn't matter how old he is, he can still be grounded.
I know. Hey, Mike, would you come up here, please?
Yes, sir.
I'm sure the board members would like to shake your hand. I'm going to present you with a plaque.
Uh-oh, somebody's in trouble.
Me.
There you go. Come on up and shake his hand here. I know you're sorry. I was I want you to, on behalf of the board, congratulations. You have made the wall of fame at the South Strabane Township Municipal Building. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's very nice. Very nice.
And I'm not even gonna tell you how I snuck that picture too.
Good thing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is nice. I remember that.
You know what, I don't
All right,
know.
folks, I'm not gonna hold you up any longer. I appreciate it.
That's a wrong reply. Grandma, you're really not stuck to stay the rest of the meeting if you don't want to, but if you want to, feel free to stay. Anthony, see you, buddy.
It was good
You-
seeing
you
you
will
again.
too.
Take care and thank you all.
Okay.
I appreciate
See
it.
ya. Okay. Okay, let's move on to number 3, public comment time. The Township Board of Supervisors allocates a period of time during this item to those individuals who like the opportunity to address the Board of Supervisors on any matter. Each person addressing the Board of Supervisors is asked to limit their comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. And I'll turn to you, Mr. Stenick, do we have anyone on the?
Yeah, is there anyone interested to speak in public comment time on the Zoom? Hearing none.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to number 4, meeting minutes. Board of Supervisors regular meeting minutes dated April 27th, 21. I need a motion to approve those particular minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Lukatich. Need a second. Thank you,
Russell.
Russ. You're new.
Sorry about that.
Oh, okay, any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 5, financial business. Approval of payroll for the periods 4 through April 17th, 2021, and April 18th through May 1st, 2021, and May 2nd through May 15th, and bills for the period April 24th, 2021 through May 2021. Need a motion, please.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Mr. Murphy. Need a second.
I'll second it.
Thanks, Mr. Lukatich. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 6, announcements. Do you have any particular announcements, Brandon? Could I have one? Is it okay for me to go, or you want to get something to say?
I'll say if you don't.
Okay. Well, folks, I want to draw attention to our assistant to the manager, Patrick Connors. This is his official last day. He dressed full casual for it. So he feels real good about it. And we want to say for the last 2.5 years, he's been a great assistant to the manager. He's done exemplary service to the township. We're very happy about it. We regret that he's leaving, but he's going to greener pastures, I hope. And for what he tells me, it's a big opportunity for him, the new opportunity he has. And we're very pleased that he's happy to accept that. We'd like to have kept him a little bit longer and seasoned him a little bit more. But nonetheless, we do want to say to him the very best and also, of course, best wishes for successful tenure wherever you're going. And just check in once in a while.
Definitely will.
And we'll let you know how you're doing. Okay?
I want to thank the board and everyone that works for the township for the opportunity. It's been a real pleasure and a great opportunity for me. I'm looking forward to seeing where the township goes the next few years. I know big things are ahead. So thank you for the opportunity. I can't thank you.
Any board member would like to say something to you? Good luck, anything?
I already gave my speech at the green team.
No, I'll keep your cell phone, I'll call you at the big game.
We'll do.
We'll talk.
This year's the year. This year's the year, right? Every year's the year.
So, I would like to say that, you know, Pat was the first one to sort of mold the assistant to the manager position, and it was, you know, he had a great opportunity to put his fingerprints on the position and the township, and he has done that. And I think he has set us up for success moving forward as we start to, you know, fill this position to make sure that support remains. And with all your work with the zoning hearing board and the planning commission and some of the contractors and vendors that we use and the applicants, I mean, I've heard nothing but good things. And truly appreciate your service and your help these past couple of years. It's been great.
It's been a privilege.
Yeah. Wishing you nothing but the best.
Thank you, Brandon.
Okay. Number 7, township reports and presentations, municipal separate stormwater source system, MS4 report. The Board of Supervisors allocates a period of time during this item for comments regarding the topic of stormwater. Each person addressing the Board of Supervisors is asked to limit their comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Mr. Standing, do you have anyone who wants to speak to that issue?
Anybody like to speak to stormwater on Zoom? Hearing none.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the township manager report.
Oh, just a couple of things to update. Our banking services RFP deadline was today, received 5 proposals. We'll take the time in the next couple of weeks to review those, have some interviews and bring back a recommendation to the board. The accessibility and security improvements to the building, not quite finished yet. We're still waiting on our fob lock mechanisms. I think they should be in by the end of the week. But again, if you recall, that money to help pay for that $75,000 project was through our community development block grant funding. Also, the Manifold Road Street Bank Restoration Project. I do have bad news. We did not get the grant from the Watershed Restoration Protection Program for 2020 when we submitted. Extremely competitive, $75 million worth available, and they were only awarding $15 million. And so that was also in addition to 7 different programs. So spoke with the general manager, and we have an understanding about how we want to reposition that. So community master plan park update continues to move forward, and we're currently recruiting for Pat's position.
Okay, secretary treasurer report.
It has been submitted for the board's review.
Okay, thank you. Township solicitor, Chris.
No report.
Thank you. Township engineer, Kevin.
Thank you. Shaw, a copy of my report. We've been assisting the township on the Billy Bell Park project through DCNR as necessary. And we've also been doing some cost estimates for the above ground fuel storage tank for the use of township.
No,
Please.
it's all right. It's just.
All I have. Happy to take any questions.
Okay. Any board member questions, Kevin? Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for the report. Appreciate it. Number 8, unfinished business. Continuation of a public hearing for the consideration of a conditional use application of PA Finance 2 LLC pursuant to Article 14 of the Strabane Township Zoning Code concerning the Burkett Manor planned residential development along Burkett Lane in the R4 residential medium density zoning district. Before I turn this over to Chris to continue the hearing, Brandon will just give a brief comment on where this is located and what we're working on.
Sure. The proposed Burkett Manor development is located at the corner of Burkett 19, about 55.5 acre property. We're looking to put about 136 units composed of attached townhomes and single-family detached homes as well. They were here at last meeting. They opened the public hearing, provided comment, gave an update. Where we are now is the board wanted to have them explore some other amenities with their recreation requirements. And we have received a plan for a pavilion that can seat about 80, that can accommodate about 80 individuals. And Mr. Victor is here tonight. We can go into that in more detail.
Okay, you got Chris on.
Okay, this hearing was continued from last time just to accept into the record the ALTA traffic survey by Gateway, which, somebody bring it? Okay, so I'm going to, I'd like to have the board move to admit the Gateway Transportation Impact Study as an exhibit.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Lukatich. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, and then the other, I'll bet you. Then the other item that we left the hearing open for was an issue that was brought up by the neighbor, and Mr. Posner as representative raised an issue of an encroachment, which would be between the neighboring properties, but I think the board wanted some more explanation and information. My review of the transcript indicated that Mr. Posner and Mr. Victor were going to discuss and the issue between the last meeting and this one. And with that, I hope they have, and that they can update us now on the issue between Mr. Bartz and PA Finance 2 and the encroachment issue. Is Mr. Posner here or Mr. Victor?
Yes. Is it okay to start? I've got a brief summary of the points that the solicitor has discussed. As you recall, we were here last month on April 27th, in which we presented our preliminary plan. And there are 145 units all totaled between 43 towns and 102 single family. The point of discussion, one of the points of discussion last month was the community park area and the idea of how that we could provide something better than the gazebo that's there. There were ongoing discussions regarding trying to place a clubhouse on the property. But again, the builder's opinion is that it is not feasible to do so, but has come back with a shelter that is 20 feet by 40 feet in size, and that will accommodate 80 people at a time. The other amenities within the community on the neighborhood park, where the pickleball courts and the fire pit will remain, as will all their other remaining amenities. The other point of question is we were not able to bring to you last month the Burkett Road agreement between Washington Investments of PA, that's our neighbor to the north, who developed that area, and PA Finance 2, this applicant, showing that the two of them have agreed in this document to dedicate for public purposes approximately 250 feet of Burkett Lane to our entrance point for public streets. So the plan does have this written documentation showing we have access. The third comment that was made last month, as you said, Attorney Posner questioned whether there was an encroachment on the property. He provided me certain information regarding the property, and part of that stated that the parcel in question, parcel C, came from the Park Place at Meadowlands subdivision. And so I pulled that up out of the recording documents from the county and then submitted that information along with our ALTA survey back to Mr. Posner. And the understanding that we have is that they are in agreement that we are not encroaching onto their parcel C, and that we are not doing any action that would obstruct any of the access or driveways that they have at this time. And by the action of our turning Burkett Lane over to the township as a private street, then it would give free access for any place along parcel C to connect to that public street per the township's requirements. That was our understanding. Those were the three left unknowns last month, and we've addressed those here and would be looking for your closing of the conditional use and tentative PRD public hearing for this evening.
Before we do that, Mr. Victor, the slides that you're just showing us on the computer, have those been submitted?
Yes, they were submitted to the township yesterday. And Patrick has a copy of those, and Brandon as well was given a copy of those, that PowerPoint.
Okay, if we have them in paper, I'd like to make those a part of the transcript.
And
So,
So moved.
and also,
All those in favor?
Hello, this is Paul Bards. Mr. Posner couldn't make it today.
okay, go ahead. Mr. Marks, you said?
this is Mr. Bards.
Okay,
He's got to unmute himself.
Sounded pretty good before. I think he muted
There
himself.
you go. There he goes.
Is that better?
yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, I talked to my attorney. He couldn't make it tonight, but I'm not in agreement that we came to an agreement with Mr. Victor that he's not encroaching on our property. I went out and I hired a surveyor to pin the property lines as parcel C, and he can't be there till approximately the middle of June, and he's gonna pin it. And once he pins it and shows me the actual lines, I'm gonna have him overlap his Alta survey to see where they are and if there is an encroachment. But again, the question is going forward, once this is turned over to a public road, is that going to affect our access to our property? And if it does, how do we go forward with that by them making their access right next to ours? So I'm talking to my attorney about it. Mr. Posner could not get here, but he asked me if I would just sit in and see what was going on and then give him an update tomorrow or on Monday. So I'm not in agreement that Mr. Victor and us have an agreement that he isn't encroaching on this. I still have not seen any pins or any markings on the property of where they're going to do the work and where our property lines are.
I made that statement because Keystone Surveying asked for information on the property, and which we provided them, the Alta survey.
He stopped in
they
my
came back-
office.
And they came back to me and told me that there was no encroachment. You are correct. It did not come from you or Mr. Posner. It came from your surveyor.
No, I gave him the Alta, I gave him the information you gave me, and he says he would not be able to pin it to see if exactly where the lines are. He says, from eyesight, he goes, I can't tell because there's no pins markings where the property lines are. So I hired HMT. They have my check. I've been in contact with the vice president, I believe, down there. And he says that he's going to be able to do it in the next 2 weeks.
I think that if there are any differentials between the Alta and parcel C that HMT may find, that we are not planning to take any encroachment. It is not uncommon for two surveyors to have some minor discrepancies. And if there is a discrepancy, we're telling you, it makes no difference to us. We will follow what your surveyor proposes. This is not quite honestly, this is a civil matter that is between the two properties, and it should not stop the action by the board on our preliminary plans. And I'm sure that this can all be resolved in advance of any final plan action or any recording of ours.
I don't know if you're asking me to respond, I don't have anything to say because I asked for the pins and the markings and you never gave them to me. All you did was put a survey over top of my survey and say, look, they match. That to me is not pinning it. That is not showing a line. So like I said, I'm going to have it surveyed and the pins there.
I wish.
Before we spend any more time on this issue, I have advised the board last time, and I'm going to do it again. I agree with Mr. Victor that this is an issue between the two property owners. The developer can only dedicate to us as a part of our public road that which property that he has. If he has 50 feet, we'll get 50 feet. If he has 48.5 feet, we'll get 48.5 feet. Whatever that turns out to be will be, but that's between them. He's also just said, Mr. Victor just stated on the record that if the other survey comes back, they don't want to encroach and they'll move it over or whatever it is they have to do. I don't really think that, we left this open because there was some question last time and the board wanted some further explanation. I don't think we're going to get any more explanation than what we've had already. And I think I'm ready to recommend that the board close the hearing.
Move to close the hearing.
Second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Any further discussion? All those in favor of closing the hearing, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0 to close the hearing.
Okay, now at this point, the board can vote to approve or you can wait. We have 45 days from the last hearing to vote. So you can wait for findings of fact or you can take a vote tonight, either way.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second, please.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Any further discussion?
I had one question.
Go ahead, Nat.
Mr. Victor, the street lighting plan, where it says that the system would be up to the township, does that mean that we would be responsible for the street lights, or would the HOA, could we say the HOA would be responsible for the street lighting plan?
We will follow whatever is your township policy. If you take over the street lights in other subdivisions, we think it would be fair for you to take them over here. If you do not take them over in other municipalities, in other subdivisions, then it will be the obligation of the homeowners association to pay for the lighting.
Correct. The township does not have a policy, nor do we have a practice of taking over streetlights that are in buildings.
Yeah. Well, then it sounds like that we will take over the lighting within the plan, and that is not a problem.
Okay, one other question. I asked you at the last meeting about the R rating on those homes, because we've got an energy study on our own buildings, and energy conservation is a big thing in the United States right now. Do you have any information on that?
I personally do not, but I can tell you that our builder, Heartland Homes, definitely has very high standards on it and can provide that to you. And we'd be happy to follow up on that and get you the energy conservation practices that they use for their plan.
You get that to Brandon. I'd like to take a look at that.
Yes, sir. We can do.
Mr. Victor, this is Bob Weber speaking. I want to thank you for including the shelter. Thank you very much. I'm glad you made that move. I'd rather have the clubhouse than the shelter.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, but I'll tell you what, the shelter is sufficient for this particular HOA.
Well, thank you.
Okay, anyone else have a question? Anything else? Okay, let's, we have a second, we have a first and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Victor. Okay, let's move on. B, resolution granting preliminary and final minor subdivision approval for the Hendricks subdivision along Country Club Road. Mr. Stanley.
So in front of the board tonight is a resolution approving a preliminary and final minor subdivision for Mr. Hendricks. This is the creation of 2 additional lots derived from 2 existing lots located within the R3 residential zoning district. Consists of about 3.5 acres total. Mr. Hendricks we have been in touch with Mr. Hendricks over the last month. He did attend the planning commission meeting in May, and they did recommend approval given the constraints that a lot of property owners and landlords are still feeling from the CDC requirements regarding tenants and maintaining their tenancy. So he has executed an agreement for the abandonment of use as a secondary dwelling for that subdivision. What that'll do is allow the existing principal structure to remain while his intent is to provide the other property to a daughter or son, which will then allow them to provide or be able to build their new home. And then within so much time of the CDC relaxing their guidelines, relaxing their requirements regarding landlords and tenancy, Mr. Hendricks is agreeing to go ahead and change the use of that existing principal structure. And I think your intent is primarily for storage?
Yes.
Okay, so then it will no longer have a family living in.
Move to approve the agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. We have a second.
I'll second that.
One question, just double check, Mr. State, this is all good, right?
Yes, Kevin, did you want to have any comment on the subdivision plan?
We reviewed a egress access easement that was drafted by the solicitor. We agree it's correct for this application. So, yeah, we have no further comment.
All right.
Yes.
First, seconded, any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Okay, let's go to number 9, new business. Letter B, presentation and motion accepting the South Strabane Township 2020 fiscal year audit. And do we have a presentation here, Mr. Jennings?
We do.
We do. It's our auditor. Okay. That's safer.
Evening Supervisors. Thank you all for inviting us tonight. Our presentation is on the board for the benefit of the public. You've been given formal copies of the audit report. I believe over the weekend you got an informal copy. Also includes the management letter and a copy of the presentation. So we'll be starting with page 2. The reason that we are here is a function of the Pennsylvania Township Code requires an annual audit of the township financials. In this case, the year ended December 31st, 2020. The financial statements themselves are prepared on the modified cash basis of accounting. The important thing for the supervisors to keep in mind is that everything in the report is the responsibility of the township manager and his staff. Our responsibility is to the 5 supervisors who work for you. We use U.S. Generally Accepted Auditing Standards to conduct the audit. The opinion that you get from us is this year unmodified with the exception of the pension plan issue at PMRS. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. When we go to page 3, we have a balance sheet. It tells us what we have at a snapshot point in time, 12/31/20. General fund had current assets at that point, $962,000. More than half of it was in cash and investment, $447 and $210. We also have a $303,000 receivable for CARES Act funding. Something that we want you to keep in mind, when you receive more than $750,000 of federal funding and spend that, you're subject to a single audit. This may occur in 2021, as I understand from our township manager, correct me if I'm wrong, another 900,000?
It's greater than 900,000.
Okay. So very likely we're going to be over that 750. There'll be some preparation that will need to be done, and we'll work with your management on that. Holding tank deposit, 19,000. Difference between what we have and what we owe, the $942,000. There's a decrease in the fund balance this year because we set up a new capital project fund. The other fund balances of significant: liquid fuel, 421, the drug investigation fund, 104,000, and capital project, 223,000. The fund balance, we talk about this a lot because it's very important. Number one, it's your working capital. Two, it's a contingency fund. Something goes wrong, something unexpected, like perhaps all of 2020. Where will you go to get the money that you need to take care of things? Fund balance. And it gives the supervisors the ability to do the most important job that you have, which is to make South Strabane better tomorrow than it is today. That money in the bank, as we all know, even at home, we can't do that. So here it's very important. History lessons on page 5, multi-year history of the fund balance. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. As we mentioned a bit ago, the decrease this year is principally because we moved money to that capital project fund. And that's something that you're going to be doing over the next couple of years to move other funds out of the general fund so they stand on their own. Page 6, always the question, well, how much is a good fund balance? There's only 5 people in this room that know the answer to that question. You're sitting at the big table. You're also the ones that get to raise your own taxes. Never had that opportunity. I don't think I want it. But what you can see here are recommended levels of fund balance: 10% of the budget, 15 and 20. When you look at what the general fund has, that 942, and draw a line across, we're right about a good spot right now, where the fund balance is finally appropriate for what we are doing here. That will change every year depending on your plan. How did we get to this point? Page 7, last year we brought in for the general fund some $6.8 million, spent a bit over $7 million. Fund balance did go down. The largest operating variance over budget, $497,000 noted in intergovernmental revenue and local enabling taxes. We had a significant CARES Act funding. That's noted. The other over budget is real estate transfer tax. Always the case with no matter what government we do, you never know who's going to sell a property in a given year. Expenditures over budget by 191. Largest under expenditure was noted in public safety and in payments for long-term debt. Turning to page 8, we'll not spend a lot of time on this. The yellow color represents the actual, what we actually did with regard to revenue, and the maroon color is the budgeted number. But what you can see there, most of the numbers hit right on target, exactly what we'd expect to see. The one thing I do like to point out is that local enabling taxes, because they are so variable, transfer taxes, LST tax, earned income tax, the more conservative you are there, the better. We like to see it when our actual exceeds the budget. Turning to page 9, same type of look for expenditures versus our actual with regard to general government, right on target. Public safety, we did spend a bit more than we thought we would, and a couple of the other categories were somewhat under budget. Pages 10 and 11, similar look, but comparing last year with this year, 19 with 20. 19 is the gold color, 20 is the blue color. The thing that you can see on page 10 for local enabling taxes, those came in slightly under a year ago. We've seen this in almost every government that we do. pages that we'll have you look at. Again, not spending a lot of time. If we can move the presentation to page 12, what you see here is a pie chart of how we spend public safety money. The big non-surprise, the pale blue color wages and contracted services, $2,330,000. The rest of the money spread out into contributions, donations, repairs, maintenance, capital purchases, fire hydrants, and insurance. A similar look at the employee benefit insurance account. The biggest piece of it is obviously Medicare, unemployment, our pension expense at $924,000. The rest of the numbers up at the top of the pie chart represent health insurance. General insurance is down in the lower quadrant, about 5 o'clock, $141,000. Streets and highways. Half the money that we spend here is again in salaries and contracted services. Capital purchases represented the other big amount at $300,000. The very last thing that we will talk about is our management letter. It is our opportunity to give you concluding comments on the audit, things that we think you need to be aware of, praise, criticism if necessary. Fund balance, again, cannot emphasize how important that is. The township had a great deal of difficulty several years ago, and you've made a nice recovery. The pension investment, we mentioned this again, this is the second year in a row for PMRS for which there is no information. Yet we're told that that's okay. They sent a nice apology letter. They've assured us that every pensioner is getting the right amount in their check. If they can't tell us how much we have, I don't know how they know the answer to that. I'm very skeptical. The next item, couple bookkeeping matters, the liquid fuel fund report. We like this report to tie to your QuickBooks. It didn't do that this year, something that we can work on for the 21 year. Canceled check images. We have a bank which is not providing the back and front of the canceled check. As auditors, that makes us nervous because we don't know who really got the money. So our township manager is going to approach the bank, see what we can do about that. Regulatory matters deal with bid procedures. As you know, annually, bidding requirements are revised for inflation. The new numbers on the second page of the management letter, nothing that we're going to go over in detail, but it's very important that we constantly keep this in mind. Lastly, the township supervisors, your most important job arguably is risk management. How do you protect what the township has? How do you spend it properly? And at the end of the day, can you tell anybody what you did? That you have an audit with a clean opinion is evidence of that. That you hold public meetings that are open. You have minutes that reflect the actions that you do. Segregation of duties is something that we always mention. Rarely are small governments able to properly segregate every duty. We can't afford that. But what you do maintain as supervisors, power of the purse, but keep that in mind always as you approach your job. Lastly, we'd like to thank Mr. Strabane and his staff. They did a very nice job during the audit. I think the supervisors should be very pleased with that. The final thing that we would say is thank you for the opportunity to be the auditors. If you have questions, we're happy to answer those for you. If you can't think of anything right now, you're always welcome to call us. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. Anyone have any questions?
I do want to recognize Marie and her help this year has been phenomenal. So thank you, Marie.
Thank you, Marie. We're looking good. A couple of years ago, I told us all, we looked broke around here. He said, no, we're not that broke. He told the farm, I said, we're not that broke. I thought we were broke. Too broke to run. But anyway, we built this back up. And I give Mr. Stan credit. I give him credit too. We're taking care of it. Good job.
What do we do about PMRS and their pension fund? We can't get any
Right.
response from it.
Right, you got the phone.
Yeah, they have indicated the issues that they've had and that they're working through it. But that's pretty much all, that's where they left it, and that's where we are with it. We're just waiting, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night, folks.
I need a motion to accept the South Strabane Township 2020 fiscal year audit.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Second, please.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Lukasich. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Letter C. Resolution granting preliminary and final subdivision approval of the 84 Mine CNX Resources Subdivision Number 1 along State Route 519. Mr. Stanek, a brief.
Sure. So this is for preliminary and final subdivision. This is a large piece of property along State Route 519 that is comprised of parcels A, B, and C on your plat. Totals about 30 acres that you're going to be conveyed to the owner of what is indicated on the plat as the Andy parcel, which will result in one larger parcel, which is 146 acres in size.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. A second, please.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Lukasich. Any further discussion by the board? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Letter D, motion awarding the lowest qualified bid for public works materials. Okay.
So we had to submit another bid. We didn't get a response the first time we submitted it, but on May 7th at 1 p.m. we opened bids for the PA2A limestone, and Hanson Aggregates was the only lowest qualified bid at $21.55 per ton. There was a bid that was received, but that was received several days later after the bids were up.
So you're moving to approve it?
Yes, recommend to approve.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Need a second, please. Thank you. Any further discussion by the board? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Letter E, motion approving agreement for a cardboard recycling dumpster. Mr. Stenny, do you want to give us a brief?
At the end of the year, we were setting some goals. The board had asked us to look into another solution for the cardboard dumpster that we have at the municipal building. That's currently a service provided by Paper Retriever. The service is free, and as a result of it being free, the service is terrible. We have a very difficult time in response from them to empty it. It litters the parking lot. We're spending Public Works resources to clean up the pond out back and clean up the parking lot as far as the cardboard flies all over the place. Even when we tie down the top, we still get people that leave it. So this Paper Retriever dumpster is part of is for anybody. It's not necessarily just for residents, but it's for anybody. And the idea was, well, we now have a recycle center. We do have an Act 101 fund with money that we've got or received from the DEP over the last year to help with recycling efforts. The recommendation from staff is for the board to consider paying a monthly fee for twice a month pickup down at the recycle center. And this would strictly be for residents.
Which of the two vendors are you recommending?
I think, we were looking at Waste Management because they have a larger dumpster. They can provide a larger 8-yard dumpster.
Yeah, but if I recall correctly, it was also twice as much money, so you could almost get 2 dumpsters for the price of.
You get 12 yard almost.
The only other fees involved with
There's a one-time fee, yeah.
You get 16 yards per month for Waste Management, and you get 12 yards per month from Republic Services. So you get more.
How much is
No, there's only one from Waste Management. But you could, for the same amount of money, you could get 2 from the other.
One's 86.62.
Yeah, but isn't that
165 for?
But isn't that a bi-weekly pickup?
Yes.
Yes,
So you do get 2 dumpsters. You get 16 yards.
Total for the month.
Yeah,
For a month, they dump.
for a month. So you get 4 extra yards from Waste Management.
And from what we've learned is, the interesting part is that this paper retriever dumpster generates the most cardboard in the county. We are number one.
24 tons.
Well, give me a little history here. Why did we start doing that dumpster when Waste Management already picks up cardboard and paper and the residents are already paying for it?
It's purely one of those convenience things.
They're all over the area too. It's not just here. Like a lot of churches will have them. You'll see them along Route 19.
I'm not seeing the convenience when I could take the paper and put it down at the bottom of my driveway. Isn't that more convenient than me driving it out here and throwing it in the dumpster?
Right, so you do have the, because it's open to everybody, you do have those who are not in the community that will
And everybody use the dumpster also.
use the dumpster. Correct.
So the residents are gonna pay for non-residents, and we're gonna pay extra for a dumpster when the residents are already paying for cardboard and paper pickup.
Well, what we would hope was that at the recycle center that would deter some of that.
Hey, Brandon, didn't we generate a certificate, a stipend for this free service we have right now? What was that stipend? For a year, did we get so much money back?
$21,000.
21,000?
21,000.
We got $21,000 for doing such a recycling.
But does that include what Waste Management already picks up?
That includes every recycling
Everything in the
material
township.
from this township.
So most of it comes from what the Waste Management already picks up.
Most of it's commercial based.
Yeah, most of it's gonna be out of your.
So we're gonna get that money anyway.
Yeah.
Whether we pay for a dumpster or just let Waste Management pick it up.
Well, it all goes into the pot. It's all material that can be added to our total.
Well, that seems like duplication of services that we're gonna pay double. If Waste Management would give us a break and say, okay, we'll knock something off everybody's bill, and you could also have the dumpster. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna pay Waste Management again for a service that they're already supposed to be doing. So why would we get the dumpster? What would be the purpose?
Because there are people who want to get rid of the paper and the cardboard on a regular basis, not once a month. The collection once a month is inadequate for most households. So as a service to our residents, which I would respectfully remind you is the business we're in, as a service to our residents, we are providing them the opportunity to recycle day in and day out, 365 days a year versus 1 day a month, which frankly, sometimes people miss it. They just didn't realize, or they were out of town or whatever. Now they got 2 months worth of recycling in their basement.
But does the township want to go into the recycling business? I mean, what are you gonna do with cans then? You have once a month service for cans. If I miss it, I miss it. That's up to the resident to keep track. You're saying we should recycle paper, but how about the cans then? Are we gonna do that also?
I would recommend that we do, yes. I would recommend that recycling center become a recycling center. It's not just a lot that we happen to own on the other side of town.
Well, then,
It is a service to the residents to facilitate saving the environment through recycling. We get reimbursed from the state for it. We have $21,000 sitting on the table, and we are recommending spending a couple thousand of that 21 to continue to provide a more amplified service to the residents. That's what we do for a living.
I'm not for paying twice for the same service. We contract with Waste Management. We already have the service. Why are we gonna pay again for the same service?
Brandon, didn't we have like right now, what's this slot in many cases? Can we have that been moved on to the recycling center?
We can have it moved down.
It
Might be a little more challenging, especially when it's a place that's off-site.
It's gonna be challenging just getting a hold of the company. I'll be honest with you. They don't answer the phone. They don't have voicemail. So most of the times when it gets empty, it's just because the delivery driver comes out here and empties it. We have a really hard time getting a hold of them. So we can try to move it, don't hold your breath. That's all I'd say.
You think answer me a question. I know what you're talking about. but can it be moved?
Yes, we can get it moved. They'll take it to another location. It's just.
And we still have free service, but gain money for recycling.
Correct. The fear, from my perspective, is that site down at the recycle center doesn't have anything near it. And we can at least curb some of it, whatever it is, or we can observe those who are actually leaving a large amount and sort of disrespecting the convenience here. We can understand who that is.
If we would go with this new thing, is it a year agreement, year to year? We can try it for a year, see how it works? Or is it something we have to do 5 years, 10 years?
Neither one of them are term. It was
On a monthly basis.
deliver the dumpster. If you want it, we'll pick it up.
That's month to month.
Have you spoke with Waste Management about this? When's our contract run out?
End of the year. And that's what we'll be doing before the end of the year, is exploring additional pickups throughout the month for recycling. Maybe it's two pickups per month.
Maybe we should table this until the contract runs out and then talk with Waste Management and see if we could put something like this in the contract. I make a motion to table till we talk with, renew the contract with Waste Management.
So we have a second table.
I would second them with caveat of moving that down there, so it's out of here.
Go bid down there. Okay, there's no discussion on this. All those in favor of tabling the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. That's a roll call vote, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Burns.
Sorry.
Mr. Burns.
No.
Mr. Grego.
Yes.
Mr. Lukatich.
Yes.
Mr. Murphy.
Yes.
Chair Weber.
Yes. Okay, let's move on. Letter F. Authorizing liens on property located at 75 Woodside Drive. Brief explanation.
Sure, there is a property at 75 Woodside Drive that is now vacant and has a junk vehicle that needs to take care of, high grass that isn't being taken care of in a timely manner. What this motion would do is will allow us to contract with a grass cutting or landscape company to take care of the violations, and then we will leave the property when we reach $500, and that shouldn't take too long.
Need a motion, please.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Second.
I'll second it.
Second. All those, any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Number 10.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Need a second? I'll second it. All those in favor of adjourn, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
It's, Mr. Stanek, for the record, looked on 401. Mr. Burns didn't, he didn't vote. 401. Okay, thank you everyone for attending. Have a good evening.